The night was quiet after the battle. Smoke still rose from the broken alien city, and the human soldier walked carefully among the ruins. His clothes were torn, his armor scratched, but his spirit was not broken. He was alive, and that was enough for now. The alien world around him felt strange. Tall towers of silver stood half destroyed, glowing with strange blue lights. The air carried a bitter smell, and the sky shone with two pale moons. Every sound made him alert. He did not belong here. He knew the aliens hated humans. If they found him, they would kill him without asking a single question. He thought he was alone, but then he heard something. It was soft at first, a sound that did not match the silence of war. It was a cry, a child's cry. The soldier froze. His heart beat faster. Who could be here, crying in the middle of the alien palace ruins? Slowly, he followed the sound. His boots crunched on broken stones. His eyes scanned every shadow. The cry grew louder, echoing against the cold walls. Finally, he reached a grand hall. Its ceiling was broken, and moonlight fell through the cracks. At the far end, sitting on the floor, was a small alien child. Her skin shimmered faint blue, and her large golden eyes were filled with tears. She looked fragile, scared, and completely alone. The soldier hesitated. This was no ordinary child. From her crown-like headpiece and fine robes, he understood the truth. She was royal. She was the child of the alien queen herself. His breath caught. One wrong step, and this could be the end of him. The child cried louder, hugging her knees. She was frightened. Her small body trembled with every sob. The soldier felt something deep inside him. Against all logic, against all fear, he walked closer. He bent down slowly, speaking in a gentle voice. "Hey, it's okay. Don't cry." The child lifted her head. She saw him, a human, and her eyes widened with shock and fear. She could have screamed, but she didn't. She only stared, tears still running down her cheeks. The soldier carefully sat on the floor a short distance away. He did not touch her. He did not rush. He only spoke softly, the way he would comfort any child. "I know you're scared, but you're not alone. You're safe right now." The child sniffled. Her small hands rubbed her eyes. Slowly, she leaned toward him, as if drawn by the warmth in his voice. The soldier offered a small smile. He removed his gloves, showing his human hands, open and empty. No weapons, no threat. Minutes passed in silence. Then, the child crawled closer. She touched his hand lightly, testing, curious. He did not move. She sat beside him, her crying fading into small whimpers. The soldier's heart softened. In that moment, it didn't matter that she was alien. She was just a child, and children needed comfort. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You're safe, I promise." For the first time, the child gave a weak smile. Her golden eyes stopped crying. But then, the air changed. The soldier felt it. A powerful presence. He looked up. At the broken doorway of the hall stood a tall figure. Her crown shone under the moonlight, and her eyes blazed with fire. It was the alien queen herself. She had seen everything. Her guards surrounded the hall in silence, weapons ready. The soldier's body tensed. One command from her, and he would be dead. But the queen did not speak at once. She only looked at the human, and at her child sitting safely beside him. The silence was heavier than any battlefield. The alien queen stood tall at the entrance of the hall. Her long silver cloak touched the floor behind her, and her sharp golden eyes glowed like fire. She did not move. She did not blink. Her child, her only daughter, was sitting beside a human soldier. The guards around her raised their weapons. One word from her, and lasers would fire. But she raised her hand. "Wait." The single word echoed through the broken palace like thunder. The guards froze in place. The human soldier did not run. He did not stand. He stayed sitting beside the little girl, calm but alert. He knew the danger. One wrong move, and this would be his last moment. The queen slowly stepped forward, her steps echoing in the quiet hall. Her eyes never left the human. She walked like someone who ruled worlds. Powerful, graceful, and cold. "What are you doing with my daughter?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp like a blade. The human looked up at her, not as an enemy, but as a man who had done something simple, something kind. "She was crying," he said softly. "She was alone. I didn't want her to feel scared." The queen narrowed her eyes. Her voice grew sharper. "You are a human. You are our enemy, and yet you touch my daughter as if she is your own." The soldier nodded. "I didn't see an enemy. I saw a child who needed someone." Silence. The child stood up. She walked slowly to her mother, still holding the human's hand. The queen looked down at their joined hands, and then at her daughter's peaceful face. "She was afraid," the soldier added. "Even a queen's child can feel fear." The queen said nothing for a long moment. The hall felt frozen in time. Finally she spoke. "You are brave, or foolish. Maybe both," the human replied with a quiet smile. The queen turned to her guards. "Leave us." The guards hesitated, confused. "Your Majesty," one asked, "do as I say." "Oh, maybe one." They stepped out of the hall, leaving the queen, her daughter, and the human alone. She looked at her daughter, who clung softly to the human's arm. Then she looked at him again. "My people hate your kind. They see your race as destroyers, invaders. But my daughter feels safe with you. That is rare." The human stayed silent. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't trying to earn trust. He had only done what felt right. The queen slowly walked to her daughter and knelt beside her. She touched the girl's face and then looked at the human. "Why do you care for what is not yours?" she asked. The human answered honestly, "Because care doesn't need a reason. She needed someone. I was there." The queen stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then, to his surprise, she gave the smallest nod, not of approval, but of curiosity. "You are different," she said. "Very different." She stood up again and looked toward the hallway. "Follow me. I want to know more." The human hesitated. "What happens if I say no?" "You won't," she said, turning away. "Because you're not afraid of us. That's what makes you dangerous." The child looked up at him and pulled his hand. She wanted him to go. And so, the human followed the queen into the shadows of the alien palace, unaware that he had just stepped into the center of something much larger than kindness. Something powerful, something political, something that could change the galaxy. The human followed the alien queen through the quiet, glowing halls of her palace. The floors were made of black stone, shining like mirrors. Blue lights floated in the air like fireflies. The air was warm, but the silence was cold. The queen did not speak. She walked ahead, her silver cloak flowing behind her like a river. Her daughter walked beside the human, still holding his hand. Guards watched from the shadows. Servants bowed low, their eyes full of fear and confusion. A human, walking beside their queen. It had never happened before. Finally, they entered a tall chamber with a round ceiling made of crystal. Stars could be seen above, shining through it like tiny white eyes. In the center was a single stone table with no chairs. The queen turned to face him. "I do not understand you," she said. The human looked at her calmly. "That's fair. Most humans don't understand aliens either." She didn't smile. She didn't blink. She just stared. "You touched my daughter like a father," she said. "You comforted her like she was your own. You risked death knowing who she was. Why?" The human paused. Then he gave his answer. "Because she was scared," he said. "Because I know what it feels like to be small and alone in a broken place. Because a child crying should never be ignored, no matter what species they are." The queen looked at him for a long moment. "Most humans run. Most fight. You did neither," she said. "Why?" "Because not all problems can be solved with weapons," he replied. "Sometimes someone just needs to sit down and listen." Her eyes narrowed. "You speak of peace, but your kind has brought only war." He nodded. "Some of us have, not all. Some of us want peace too." The queen walked slowly around him, studying his face. "You are not a soldier like the others." "I was," he said, "but I got tired of war. Tired of watching people, human or ally, lose everything." She stopped walking. "Then what are you now?" The human looked at her. "I'm someone who still believes that kindness can change things." The queen was quiet. Her daughter tugged gently at the human's hand and smiled. He smiled back. "You could have used her to escape, to hurt me, to bargain for your life," the queen said. "I didn't," he replied. "No," she agreed. "You didn't." She turned toward the stars above and whispered, "Maybe. I was wrong about your kind." For a queen known across the stars as a ruthless leader, Those words meant more than she showed. Then she faced him again. But my council will not accept this. They will want you punished or removed. The human's eyes darkened, but he stood tall. Then why bring me here? The queen walked to a glowing wall and pressed her hand against it. A large screen lit up, showing hundreds of alien faces in a round chamber. Her council. They are watching, she said. I want them to see what I see. The council stared in silence as the human stood beside their queen and her daughter. What do you want from me? He asked. She looked him in the eyes. I want to see if a human can speak not only to a child's heart, but to a kingdom's future. The human had never seen a place like this. The alien queen's palace was not just big, it was alive. Walls whispered with light, floors shifted quietly underfoot, and strange plants grew from the ceilings, glowing in the dark. But as beautiful as it was, he could feel it. This place held secrets. The queen allowed him to stay, not as a prisoner, not as a guest, but as something new, something dangerous. She said she wanted to understand him, but others in the palace did not agree. Every alien in the palace watched him with cold eyes. Servants bowed without words. Guards placed hands on weapons when he walked by. Even the walls seemed to listen. But the child, the queen's daughter, smiled when she saw him. She ran into his arms and laughed, her golden eyes full of joy. He became her protector, her friend. She followed him like a shadow. This small connection grew stronger each day, but so did the danger. One evening, the human walked into a quiet garden deep inside the palace. The air smelled sweet, and soft music played from glowing stones. But he was not alone. A tall alien in dark robes stood waiting. His skin was gray, his eyes narrow. You should not be here, the alien said. I was invited, the human replied calmly. Not by me, the alien said. You are a problem. The queen is changing because of you. The human frowned. Maybe she's changing for the better. The alien stepped closer. Peace is weakness. This palace runs on fear, not kindness. What about the child? The human asked. Does she deserve fear too? The alien said nothing, but his eyes turned colder. She is next in line, he said. If she grows up soft, the empire will fall. Then he vanished into the shadows, leaving the human alone. That night, the queen invited the human to her private chamber. The room was round, with maps of stars on every wall. The queen stood near the Wen, Shkul, and Dao, looking into space. They are afraid of you, she said. I know, the human replied. One of them warned me today. He doesn't want peace. The queen turned. Her face was calm, but her voice was heavy. That one is High Speaker Drex. He leads the War Council. He wants me gone. He wants to stay in power, she said. Peace takes away his control. The human stepped closer. Then why let me stay? She looked at him for a long time. Then she spoke slowly. Because you make my daughter smile. Because you make her feel safe. Because, for the first time, I see a different future. Silence filled the room, but it was broken by a small voice at the door. It was the child. Mother, she said, can he stay with us forever? The queen looked at her daughter, then at the human, and she said, only if he wishes to. The human smiled gently, but deep down, he knew this palace was filled with secrets. Not all of them were silent. Some were sharp, some were deadly, and someone, maybe more than one, wanted him dead. The palace slept under silver moonlight. Alien towers stood silent like watchful giants. The wind moved softly through the glowing trees, but inside the queen's royal chambers, sleep was not easy. The human sat by the window, eyes on the stars. He could not rest. The words of the High Speaker echoed in his mind. You are a problem. He felt it in the air now, heavy, tense, sharp, like a knife in the dark. The queen entered the room. She wore no crown, no armor, only a simple silver robe. Her face was tired, but her eyes still held fire. You cannot sleep? She asked. He shook his head. It's too quiet, too calm. She walked to him and stood beside the window. The calm before the storm, she whispered. There was a long silence between them. Finally, the queen spoke again. I want to make you an offer, she said. The human turned to her, confused. What kind of offer? She looked at him. Not like a ruler, not like an alien, but like someone carrying a heavy choice. My people are divided. The War Council grows stronger each day. They want more battles, more control. But my daughter, she dreams of peace, and so do I. He waited. I want you by my side, she continued. Not just for her, for the future. If you stand beside me, the people will listen. Maybe they will change. The human was quiet. The offer was too big, too sudden. I'm just a soldier, he said, not a king. The queen's voice turned sharp. Sometimes, kings are not born. They are chosen. Before he could answer, a sound broke the moment. A sharp crash. The window behind them shattered. A dark object flew in, spinning fast. The queen shouted, pulling the human away. Boom! An explosion shook the room. Flames burst through the wall. Guards stormed in, weapons raised. Smoke filled the air. The human grabbed the queen and pushed her behind a pillar. Sparks fell from the ceiling. Another object flew through the air. A silver dart aimed straight at the queen. Without thinking, the human leapt forward. He caught the queen in his arms and rolled behind the throne. The dart hit the pillar where her head had been seconds earlier. Guards shouted, lasers fired. An attacker in black armor appeared through the broken window. He moved fast, too fast, but the human moved faster. With a broken spear he had found earlier, he rushed forward and struck the assassin's arm. The weapon dropped. The attacker turned, but the guards had surrounded him now. The queen stood tall, firelight dancing on her face. Take him alive, she commanded. The guards obeyed. The attacker was dragged away, hissing in anger. The queen looked at the human, breathing hard, smoke on his skin, blood on his arm from a sharp cut. You saved me, she said softly. I wasn't going to let you die, he replied. You could have run. You didn't. He smiled faintly. Not my style. The queen stepped closer. She placed a hand on his shoulder. The offer still stands, she whispered. Even more now. What about your council? He asked. Her eyes turned cold. They just declared war on their own queen, and I never forget betrayal. The next day, the palace was silent, but not calm. Guards stood at every door. Servants whispered in fear. The air was heavy, like a storm about to break. The failed attack on the queen had changed everything. Now, no one trusted anyone. The human stood outside the throne room, his arm wrapped in cloth. The cut from the explosion still hurt, but he didn't care. He kept watching the tall doors. Inside, the queen was meeting with her council. He wasn't allowed in, not yet. From behind, the little girl ran to him. She hugged his waist tightly. They're shouting inside, she whispered. Are they going to hurt Mother? He looked down, trying to hide the worry on his face. No, he said softly. Not if I can help it. Suddenly the doors opened. A guard stepped out. The queen has called for you. The human stepped inside. The council chamber was round, with high walls and floating lights. The alien leaders sat in a circle, faces hard and cold. At the center stood the queen. Every eye turned toward the human. He should not be here, growled High Speaker Drex. He saved my life, the queen replied. He is human, a threat, a trick. This kindness is only a mask. The queen raised her voice. Enough. She looked around the chamber. Last night, someone tried to kill me, not an outsider. Someone inside this palace. While this human protected me, someone among you tried to end my life. So now I ask, who is truly the threat? Murmurs filled the room. The queen pointed to the human. He risked everything for my daughter, for me. He didn't ask for power. He didn't seek control. He simply did what none of you would. He cared. The High Speaker stood. This is not love. It is weakness. No, said the queen. It is strength. She turned to the human. Kneel. He hesitated, unsure. You stood by me in fire. Now I stand by you before my empire. The human dropped, head to one knee, not because he wanted power, but because he knew this was more than a moment. This was history. The queen pulled a silver ring from her robe. She placed it in his hand. This ring marks the protector of the crown, she said. From this day, you are under my shield, and I under yours. Gasps filled the room. The High Speaker's voice thundered. You crown a human in the palace? This is madness. The queen stepped forward. It's not madness. It's evolution. We have lived in fear for too long. Fear of humans. Fear of peace. Fear of change. No more. She turned to the council. If anyone here still follows the old ways, step forward now. No one moved. The human looked around. He could see it. The fear in their eyes. And also something new. Respect. The queen raised her voice once more. Let this be known. The war is over. A new age begins, and this human is part of it. The council bowed slowly. Even the high speaker lowered his head, but his eyes burned with silent rage. As the human stood beside the queen, the child ran to his side. She held his hand tightly, smiling. He looked at the queen. What now? He asked. She answered quietly. Now we prepare for those who will not bow, and we show them why they should. Days passed. The palace no longer felt like a trap, but it wasn't safe either. The human walked through its golden halls, now filled with whispers, stares, and shadows. Some bowed to him, others turned away. But one thing was clear, he was no longer just a visitor. He had become something more, a symbol. The queen had given him the title Protector of the Crown, but many aliens still feared what he stood for: peace, change, and unity. Especially the High Speaker, Drex. And Drex had not given up. That night, as twin moons rose over the alien capital, a secret message arrived. A rebel army, loyal to Drex, was marching toward the palace. Fast, angry, armed. They didn't want peace. They didn't want a human protector. They wanted war. In the throne room, the queen stood beside the human, calm but focused. Around them, commanders argued. We must evacuate. Let the guards fight alone. Hide the child. But the queen raised her hand. Silence fell. We do not run, she said. Not now. Not after all we've done. She turned to the human. They come for me, but they will strike you first. He looked at her, then at her daughter standing nearby, holding a small toy he had carved from alien wood. I didn't come here to be a hero, he said, but I won't let them take what we've built. The queen gave a soft nod. Then stand with me, not as protector, but as something more. He frowned. More? She stepped closer, her voice low and steady. As king. The room froze. Even the guards stared in shock. I was raised to believe only our kind could rule, she said. But my daughter sleeps peacefully for the first time in her life. My people see hope in your face. And I see a future. The human felt his heart pound. Are you sure? I've never been more sure, she said. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the palace. The enemy had arrived. The queen walked to the great balcony and stepped into the moonlight. The human followed. Below, thousands of armed rebels stood in the city square. Drex rode a giant war beast, his armor shining red. His voice roared across the courtyard. Give us the traitor, the human, and we will spare the crown. The queen raised her voice. This human is the crown. Gasps from below. The human stepped forward. His voice was steady. I came here by accident. I stayed because of your child. I fought because of your queen. But I will stand here now, because this world matters, because peace matters. A pause. Then the little princess stepped onto the balcony, raising her small hand high. No words, just hope. And in that moment, something changed. Some rebels lowered their weapons. Some dropped their flags. Drex screamed, You are weak. No, the queen said. We are strong, because we choose peace. A single shot rang out. A rebel had fired. The human pushed the queen back, the blast slicing past them. Guards rushed forward. Lasers filled the air. A battle began, but it was short. Because the people, the city, the guards, even former rebels, stood with the queen and the human. When the smoke cleared, Drex was gone. His army scattered. Victory. Later, in a quiet ceremony under the stars, the queen placed a new crown in the human's hands. He looked at her. Are you sure about this? He asked again. She smiled. No, but I believe in you. And so the human, once a stranger, once a soldier, became the king of an alien empire. Not through war, but through love and loyalty and choice.